We're going to do a dive into a 1977 UFO encounter way down south in Mississippi. Stick around, Talk is Cheap is up next.
Come again.
Good evening, planet Earth and beyond. My name is Pete Hobblive. Welcome to another great episode of Talk is Cheap. And, of course, as always, to my right, Mr. Dan Hofeld. How's it going tonight, Dano?
I'm doing all right. Just got to get these controls down once again.
Yeah. Knock the dust off, or the rust off, rather, and get going.
Did you just see my hair?
Do you want to touch my hair?
Yeah. I'll pass on that, but I did notice that. New style, Dano?
Yeah, I was actually getting my original, and then she started cut. I was like, oh, if I have to do it spike, because I wanted it shorter, and then she just threw it up like this. I was like, try that for a while, see what happens.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments, folks.
Like it, hate it. It's kind of like a Jordan Sather for those that are listening on the audio podcast style look.
And know who the heck that person is that you just referenced. I'm trying to work better on my posture. I've gotten some feedback that I've been slouching too much in the chair, so hopefully my posture will be better. So I apologize to those that are upset about my slouching. Good luck. Tough shit.
There's something I want to show before we get into your topic real quick. I was talking to Steve. We'll just say his first name. He's just sent me these photos here.
Oh, that's cool. Where is it? Where is this, or is it undisclosed location?
Let's give undisclosed on this one.
Okay. So it looks beautiful. I would love to go check it out sometime.
So he had a camera and he took 2 photos in repetition. So this is the first.
Okay. Like how much of a repetition?
Like 1 second.
Okay.
2 tops. And then this appeared up here.
Oh, bird.
It's a plane?
Bird. It's Superman. Looks like a bird to me from first blush. Can you zoom in?
Yes, we can. That's what I was looking for. So up here above the mountain for those hill.
Okay, now it doesn't look as much. It's still. Oh boy, it sure doesn't look as much like a bird anymore now.
So that close, those 2 shots taken together.
Is it photoshopped in?
No, it's not. And I was talking to him, so he sounds legit. Like he wouldn't fake this.
He sounds legit like he wouldn't fake this. All right, okay.
This is what happens.
Zoom in a little bit more.
Oh, we're getting pixelated now.
Oh yeah, but
you
look
can
at
see
that.
the pixelation.
Yeah, but look, it's lighter around the thing. That looks like a Photoshop job to me, man.
No, that's how it looks when you.
Or it could be the ion energy field around it.
But for those listening, I'll just describe it here. It kind of looks like a triangular craft. It's black, but there's like a ball beneath it. Now, I've never seen one kind of like this. The one I could kind of say that I've seen was like that was I think it was a CGI TR3B video, or it could have been legit, but I think it was CGI, I guess. The more I thought about it. It had the ball, but the ball came after the power up. Now, this is just like part of the craft.
Like a belly of the craft, yeah. I don't know. I guess it could be triangular. It doesn't jump out to me as triangular.
So do you think maybe it's a bird and the wing came down?
It's just tucked back or something, I mean, there's a famous crow picture that people said was Bigfoot for a while until people realized it was a crow taking up from the ground. But I don't know. Well, when you zoomed in, I don't like how it's lighter around there. I can almost see where it's cut out and put in, man.
Well, that's how compression works.
Are you sure about that? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, let's hear it in the comments, folks.
Yeah, and if this lady or gentleman that sent you the picture, I'd love for him to provide some feedback through you, Dan. But scroll back out. Let's take a look at this and assume that it's not a Photoshop job at this time. See, doesn't it seem to pop a little bit more than the other background and stuff? Although I guess that building below it's popping pretty good. It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, let's zoom in on one of these other structures. Like this boat.
Yeah, or that lighthouse.
Doesn't that pop a little bit?
Oh, yeah, that's a little washed out around the edges there. Okay.
Think he photoshopped that in?
No, but pick something else. Something in the sky. Is there anything else in the sky at all we could look at Probably not. Not really,
Just a cloud.
It's any good.
We're probably boring the audio.
Yeah, sorry. I just
they can't see it.
Yeah. Sorry for that. But I don't know. I'm skeptical with this one. But I haven't had a conversation with the individual. I guess if Dan's vouching for you, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Well, like he said, he doesn't really know what it is. He just thought it was interesting.
No, it certainly is interesting. If he took the time to Photoshop that in there and then seek us out and contact you to give it to you to make us look like idiots, he's got big, huge issues, right? I mean, why would he be doing that?
Exactly.
You know, he needs to spend his time doing something more productive than that. Because, sorry, anyway. But anyway, cool. Good photo. And I hope that he watches this or she and gets back to you. I think you said he. Anyway. Steve. Yeah, that's a he, right?
Yeah.
And gets back to you and says, Dan, tell Pete he's an idiot and that I didn't do any of that stuff.
He's full of it.
Yeah, well, people that know me would say that. So,
right?
Right. Okay. Before we begin, you remember it's been a while since we talked about it, but I forgot last week during our live episode to bring it up. But Ken and Athena sent us each an Amazon gift card,
right? Yeah.
For Christmas or holidays, whatever holidays we want to celebrate, or none at all, just a gift out of the blue. It's awesome. Anyway, last time we talked, I said I didn't buy anything. I wanted to find something special or that would remind them. So anyway, I took the gift card they gave me and put it toward. Righty, it's a Celestron stargazing binoculars. So pretty cool. I mean, I think it's very appropriate. We met them out at the ECETI Ranch. We were doing, we were out in the field. We were doing the Skywatch with them and stuff. Would have been really cool to have a pair of these, I think, with us, but we didn't. So anyway, Ken and Athena, again, thank you so much. It will get good use. I will tell you that.
Exactly.
It's amazing how many more stars you can see in the night with a set of these. So
pretty good, huh?
I plan on having them until I die, so I'll always remember you.
There you go.
Mission accomplished. That's what I wanted to do. So
start seeing some UFOs, maybe, huh?
that's the idea, Dano. Or weird stuff going on. And I was telling you before we went on the show, man. You look up at the sky at night, and you see a lot of stars, and then when you look through a pair of binoculars like that, you see 3 times as many stars.
Yeah, and then a lot of people don't get out of the city at night.
Yeah.
And they got that, what is it called? The light.
Just light pollution, basically.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. There's probably a fancier scientific name for it than that, but
A lot of stars that you can't see.
Yeah, in the city. But Dan and I are both blessed. We live out in the country with very, very low light pollution. So on a good night, boy, the stars really are out there. So, all right. So I'm going to probably tick off some viewers too, because sometimes they say, "Oh, the topic starts at 8 minutes and 22 seconds and stuff." So, well, sorry.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just catching up with the folks out on the internet. So let's talk a little bit about the Flora, Mississippi UFO sighting, or UAP, right? Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
No,
sighting.
you're catching on to the new term.
Yep.
You son of a bitch.
So anyway, but I'll say UFO. I still say UFO. So
sucking up to Tom DeLonge, are you?
Oh, is that who coined it?
Well, he's part of the group that's coming.
That's using that term.
Yes.
Is the government using that term as well?
Yeah.
Is it?
I would say so. Okay. Yes, they're pretty much the government.
Well, the government knows what's best, Dan. So I'm gonna do what the government says. Oh my goodness. All right. So here's the story. On February 10th, 1977, Flora, Mississippi. It is alleged that a UFO was witnessed by nearly 24 police officers. So
there's credibility?
Yes.
Do we categorize police officers being credible?
That's a hot topic these days. I would say in 1977, Flora, Mississippi, if you had 24 police officers coming forward saying that they saw a saucer-shaped disc in the sky, that would be credible, I would think. But anyway, I'll preface this whole thing saying is that as I was doing my cyber research into this, I did not find any names of 24 officers or even a story about how 24 officers came to see this thing. So I think that might be a little bit embellished, that number. But I did find reference to multiple police officers that did see it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay. So we know it's February, 4 days before Valentine's Day, 1977. I'm about 10 months old at that time. Two officers of the Madison County Sheriff's Department, Kenneth Creel and James Luke, they were on a routine patrol about 4 miles outside of Flora, Mississippi. Okay. Ken Creel first spotted this UFO, thought it was a bright star, except for it started getting bigger and it started getting brighter, and then they noticed it was getting closer to him. And really, a lot of UFO encounter stories or witness stories start with, it looked just like a bright star, but then I noticed it was like following me along, the ridgetop or something like that. So anyway, it eventually grew bigger and brighter that he could clearly see the object was disc shaped. Okay. As Ken Creel saw this, he radioed then the Mississippi Highway Patrol.
Wait, I'm sorry. What time of day was it? Did I miss that?
Night. I'm assuming it's night.
Okay.
Because he talks about, we'll get to another officer talks about his flashing his headlights at it and stuff. So, anyway, I assumed it's at night. Cripes. Good question.
That's kind of important because are you seeing a light?
Well,
are you seeing
would you
the
think
actual
it was
craft?
at 2 p.m, if you looked out and saw a light, would you think it was a star? If it was light out, you wouldn't look up and say, "Oh, there's a bright star."
No.
You're at least dusk and beyond.
When is that North Star? You can see that.
Well,
quite
it's
a bit
dusk
before.
at earliest, right? So I guess the reference thinking it was a star, I would assume.
But he said it was a disc shape now, so it must have been really close.
So yeah, we'll get to that. So anyway, he saw the object. As it came closer, you noticed it was disc.
Excuse me.
We're
disc
not
shaped.
live, but we'll probably let that one go.
Yeah, I think that was all right. And at that point, he radioed the Mississippi Highway Patrol. So now you've got a local cop now radios to the Highway Patrol, "Hey, there's something in the air. It's freaking me out." He stopped the car and shut off the engine, and the UFO was about 200 yards from them at this time. Okay? It was about 30 to 40 feet in diameter, he describes, and he said it sounded like a blender that was straining, like when you first put ice into it and hit a blender. So it was loud, right?
Oh.
So it was louder. Then the UFO came from 200 yards and then hovered directly over the vehicle about 20 or 30 feet above it. Okay, so these officers are sitting there watching this. At this point, night or day, I would think you would be able to tell if that was a disc-shaped object or not, right? It stayed there for about a minute, and they noticed that it had windows in it, and I'll do the air quotes for windows, with lights coming out of it. So they could see like these lit up windows, but it changed between red and blue and green colors. It would all like kind of blend in and alternate between them. Like I said, for about a minute, and then Creel, they decided, okay, enough's enough. We're getting out of here. He started the engine back up and to turn around when the object suddenly just took off and vanished, high acceleration speed. Okay. A few seconds later, it was gone. So, interesting part here is that this was also witnessed by another police officer, Lewis Younger, who had pulled up to the scene behind them. Remember, they radioed in for saying that there's something weird going on out here. Another officer pulls in behind them, sees this disc-shaped object hovering above the cop car, and then take off. So now we're up to 3 officers, okay? We'll count together.
All right.
Right? According to the story, two additional officers also saw the object from a distance, Charles Bowering and Joe Chandler. Okay. And then another one, so that's up to 5 now. Hubert Roberts claimed to have blinked his headlights at the object, and then it responded in turn. Okay. What's also interesting, too, is that some local newspapers picked it up. The local TV station did a story on it years after the event. Dan, go ahead and cue up that first little clip of the video of this news report on it.
just above that tree line off this rural Madison County road, the night of February 10th, 1977. Nearly 24 cops saw something they couldn't explain.
But I'll tell you what, though, most of them now around here, you don't realize how many people have had a close encounter with what this is.
This former deputy who saw the UFO agreed to talk with us if we protected his identity. For our story, we'll call him Joe.
Approximately 15, 18 feet off the ground, blue in color, kind of a metallic blue. Portholes around the center of it, kind of shaped like an old spinning top kid.
Blue in color. So when he says that, we're kind of thinking he must have saw some metal at least,
or something. Yeah,
because he didn't say light really.
Like,
if this was at night, like,
oh right,
he's getting a good view of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, he didn't say at night, but blue in color. Ken Creel described it as gray, so bluish gray, maybe. Right?
Okay, yeah, we'll let that go.
To use.
Madison County Sheriff's Deputy Kenny Creel was also there that night. His description of what happened made the Flora incident world famous. 3 decades later, his family says he's tight-lipped about it.
He didn't really want to talk about it anymore, and if he knew that it was going to cause such a ruckus, he'd have never said anything about it.
Now, I spoke with...
Okay. That I wanted to stop you there because that statement right there rings true with so much of this unexplained paranormal stuff. Okay, people, they realize that when they come forward and say say something like this, the circus that surrounds them, the people that tell them they don't know what they're talking about, or the tabloid newspapers and stuff like that, they get all this unwanted attention. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so right there, you said, that was his grandson, I think they said, wasn't it? I missed it. But anyway, said, he said that he wouldn't have ever said anything if he knew it would cause all this attention. Right. So people, when they see stuff like this, are so hesitant about reporting anything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure this guy back in 77, he was a cop, and that was just like, okay, I'm doing my job. I'm reporting a suspicious thing in the sky.
Well, yeah, then they kind of probably make fun of him. And that's kind of why I think with this whole disclosure initiative that the Navy being able to report it now, trying to not demonize it, let them come forward.
And that hasn't done a damn thing about it. It's so funny. That barely moved the needle on acceptance.
No, I think it will. It was just in due time it will.
Yeah, I hope so, because like people at work, I still talk about weird stuff.
And they have
like,
no idea.
You're so funny. I'm like, dude, the Navy released video footage of unidentified flying objects, man, that they can't explain. What? I didn't know that. So many people have like their heads so far into the sand, man. They don't care about it.
Yeah, the issue is the news will cover it for a small segment.
Yeah.
And then...
But God... If Kim Kardashian was talking about it, or Beyonce, or whatever else, whoever else people are following around.
Oh, yeah.
They would get some freaking attention. That's what ticks me off about it. So go ahead and continue here just a little bit, Daniel.
Real about the UFO he supposedly saw in this field some 34 years ago. He didn't want to go on camera, but he did tell me by phone that he actually made the whole thing up, that it was some kind of a joke. But others...
Joke?
So this guy got Ken Creel on the phone 30 years later, and Ken's like, nope, made it up. It's all a joke.
To try to walk away from it.
Yeah, or was he told to be quiet about it, right? I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
we hear that happen a lot.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Definitely.
So go ahead and let's finish this one out at least a little bit more.
Not so sure about that. Joe believes Creel clammed up after the feds put the heat on him.
The CIA told him that he didn't need to talk about it no more. That they didn't want it out. And I don't know what type of threats was made.
The initial sighting was Kenny Creel and James Ray Luke.
Local UFO researcher Pat Frasconia has launched a new investigation of Flora 77.
These are credible witnesses, as you mentioned, in law enforcement. That's what maybe makes this more believable than some of the other reports.
Right. I mean, nobody's interested in a witness that's not credible. No, who is?
Went up over the trees there on Bogachilla and went out of our sight.
Joe says people are still seeing UFOs around Flora. He took this picture of something in the sky in January. He says the sightings are a town secret.
But it's one of those things folks just don't like to talk about.
Well, I don't imagine you will get anybody to talk about it.
And to learn more about the Florida.
Okay, so anyway, interesting. They said they were going to keep his, identity secret. I'm guessing if you were from Flora, Mississippi, which doesn't sound like a large town, you would know who that is. And I guess just to mention, Joe Chandler was supposedly another officer that saw this thing. So maybe you figure that one out on your own. Interesting thing that we didn't talk about, and Pat Fresconia will talk a little bit more about it in a video or in a little clip here I got.
1886 in a 2010 census was the population.
How many?
1886.
Oh God. So yeah. So I'm guessing that anybody in Florida, Mississippi knows who that guy is that was talking about it. But anyway, one thing that wasn't mentioned in any of the articles is that allegedly there's the place where this sighting took place. There's two 15-diameter circles in the forest where nothing grows. And Pat Fresconia, the UFO lawyer, he's a UFO lawyer, investigates this. He actually represents some folks from the Rendlesham Forest incident at the Bentwaters Air Force Base in 1980. So
he's got some experience.
Yeah, he's basically a lawyer that takes up cases for guys that have been affected by UFO paranormal stuff like that, and it's probably suing government for it. So anyway, the other one, started at a minute. I think this one's pretty cool. Talk about the circles a little bit.
Site, there still remains two circles about 15 feet in diameter each that are adjacent where nothing is growing.
The wooded area is so secret, Pat didn't want to tell us the exact location. Currently, he has a team of scientists studying the spot for radiation.
We have a soil analysis that's underway with one of the state universities to determine if there's anything anomalous about the soil.
Those test results should be done in 45 days. Pat says he's still finding more witnesses that say a UFO did in fact hover over Flora 34 years ago. He's still not sure what the people saw.
Whether it was
Okay, so that's interesting. And I think an interesting thing to note here as well, Dan, is that it's 9 years later, right? And I could not find any
consensus
or any follow-up that what these results were of this soil test that he was doing.
He was embarrassed or something?
You know what? I'm guessing that if he had something, we'd at least be able to find. So maybe one of our astute viewers can do a little digging and see if they can find if anything that would represent any sort of evidence or proof that study was conducted and what the results were, because I sure couldn't. But again, not an uncommon thing.
Did you search his name and then say results?
Yeah, and he's got a lot of different stuff up too. Huh. The alleged a spot in the ground where the earth doesn't grow again. We hear that a ton about UFO incidents as well. Okay.
So do you think this is like why that would be is like the radiation from outer space and then they land and then it just gets in the soil? Is that?
It's got to maybe something from the propulsion system that just ruins and, bleaches the soil, so to speak, and totally sterilizes it.
Because it would seem like you wouldn't want to touch it. Like if it does that to the ground, what's it going to do to you?
Yeah, right. Maybe it converts it and does something to the cell structure that doesn't allow it to host life. Who knows? I don't know.
Because they're always using Geiger counters when they're checking that stuff,
zipping that stuff
in the movies anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume, I would assume they took a scoop of it and had a soil analysis done, wouldn't you? I mean,
they better call in To the Stars Academy to Tom DeLonge to investigate that one. And
Space Force.
So they can get the samples.
Yeah, so they can get the samples. I can sense your sarcasm. Okay, so that's the Florida, Mississippi UFO sighting. But interesting enough, 2 days later, other residents of Florida reported seeing an unidentified object as well. So we got on February 12th, Mr. and Mrs. Darwin Alexander, Mrs. Denver Alexander, and her son Eddie, and a neighbor, Mr. and Mrs. Cawthorn, would report seeing an upside-down dish-shaped craft hovering over their street.
Upside down?
So
how do they know?
Well, it's an upside down dish. That's what it looked like.
Oh.
So turn it, your cereal bowl upside down. That's what it looks like. So there's your disc shaped object, right, with the dome on top. It was described as gray with bright red lights, evenly spaced, with a dome on top. They saw the object hovering, but in this case, it was pretty much silent, except for an instance of what was described as a swooshing sound. So maybe who knows what that was. Anyway, so
maybe the propulsion or something.
No blender grinding ice sound out of this.
Well, they probably had the updated model.
Yeah, right. They blew out the carbon in the engine. It's running nicer now, right? This object stayed again hovering above their street for several minutes before it, like the other one, rapidly took off and sped off into the distance. Allegedly, on the same night at a nearby Brookhaven Municipal Airport, several additional reports were received from people seeing strange objects. So you've got a 2 to 3 day, period here where multiple people claim to have seen the object. Okay. And according to Joe, our anonymous witness to the events on the February 10th night, he said people don't want to talk about it in Florida, and they've been coming around for a while. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Dan, you kind of showed it a couple times as you were scrolling through. I don't know if it actually went out, but got a copy or a photo of a story that ran. Actually, the AP picked it up in 1977, so that's pretty interesting. That goes all over. Describing the incident, a lot of what we just discussed, Ken Creel, the original officer that we talked about, got all the attention. There's allegedly 24 officers that saw this, but Ken Creel, the driver of the car, the guy who radioed it to the State Highway Patrol, was the one who got all the attention. The spokesman from the sheriff's office, if you look at the last line there, the quote is, "He's a reliable man and not a practical joker."
There it is.
So we talked a little bit about credibility earlier too, Dan. I get that today in age, and this has been going on for, probably since the advent of police officers, but, there's, not police in some circles are not very highly regarded. But I would say when you've got one sitting in his patrol car calling the highway patrol that he sees a disc object above his car, that you would tend to take that a little more seriously. And then there's also then another article kind of covers the same thing. The thing just hovered over us about 20 feet, I believe it says, for more than a minute. He said, "I didn't get out."
More than a minute? That's
a long time.
It is.
When you've got a UFO sitting on top of you. He said, "I didn't get out. I wouldn't." Smart move, man. That's some good gut instinct there.
I would probably get out.
Oh, well, nowadays maybe, but
it's the cool and hip thing to do.
Yeah, right. When that UFO lands in your backyard, you get on it, right? I mean, I've said that before. So
for all he knows, he probably was on the craft. He just doesn't remember it.
Yep. Yeah, it could very well be. What they didn't realize is that it took that second cop like 45 minutes to get there.
Oh yeah,
right,
Yeah.
What was his name? Younger was his name. Where it is, Louis Younger.
And then this was a rendition,
this is an artist's rendition based upon the description by Ken Creel. That ran February 17th, so 1 week after the incident.
So it looks like he has some good, for those listening, some good detail. He's like, it's saucers, but then there's like a band around it, and then they got the individual lights.
Lights, yeah, the windows or the portals or the lights or whatever they're called. The propulsion system, I'm sure, right?
I don't think that would be the propulsion.
You don't think so? Why would they put lights around it? Why wouldn't you want to be completely invisible?
Because they can do different things with those lights if they want. They can make themselves look like airplanes.
or zip you up into it with a
Disappear.
tractor beam,
Or they think it's fun for effect when you abduct people just to turn the high beams on.
They think it's fun for effect because they watch the people. Yeah, but see, the problem with that though is, man, before they wiped your brain, think of every person that's ever abducted. They all shit themselves. I think about it. Your reaction, your body probably just releases everything and all. Just out of pure terror.
It depends on how terrified they are.
Yeah, so you know what? That's a good litmus test. Hey, I was abducted. Yeah, did you have to change your pants?
Maybe this helps with like the deer in the headlight effect.
I don't know, man. I think it would be terrifying. I think we could sit here and say, hey, that'd be cool.
But if something came through here, let's just say you're outside taking a piss. Boom, like turn the high beams on. Don't you just kind of like
shocked.
freeze?
You go into like instant shock or freeze.
And then that helps them initiate the tranquilizer.
Yeah, then they zap you before you can grab yourself. Okay, I don't know. I could just imagine that initially the person's screaming and kicking and just terrified, So anyway, so Dano, I thought this one was pretty interesting, and I had not heard about this before.
No.
It's kind of cool. I'd encourage everybody to do some more digging. If I was closer to Mississippi, I'd go knocking on some doors, but I'm not. But it was cool. I thought that a lot of the accounts in this one were consistent with a lot of other UFO reports that you dig into and read about.
Helps the credibility a little bit.
Yeah, and think about it. Nowadays it's not so hard to jump on a bandwagon. Everybody's got all these stories available on the internet and stuff. In 1977, there was nothing of that. This guy wasn't going around to all the cities and reading through all their old newspaper archives in the library and to
have to actually do research. You would have to do that. It's not easy. Like what we do, I guess.
Yeah. This what we're doing is like cheating almost compared to 30, 40 years ago, man. That's not even fair.
Could you imagine trying to, I got to look up this topic, go to the library. I mean, it would take you time to do that. Yeah. Get your notes together. There was no computer.
And there was no good sharing between us. So this library had different things than that library. So you had to like travel to places.
That's a good point.
And to go get the stuff,
No, you're totally right.
So anyway,
that's kind of, was there a lot of UFO sightings back in the day, and it was just because of the way the information wasn't?
Yeah, and there are like newspaper articles, and they picked up like the AP, the Associated Press. I guess you could follow it that way and stuff. But I mean, it's so much more difficult. And like I said, just having the police officer and what he did. I mean, if you're a practical joker, man, and you're gonna pull one over on your buddies back at the station, are you gonna call like the highway patrol and get them involved? I mean, that's like you're defrauding like state employees or whatever.
Yeah, they would lose their job. And
yeah,
stuff.
right. They would lose their job.
That's crazy stuff. So I wanted to say before we wrap up that I actually had a request to make be the change shirt in a V-neck. So I went ahead and did that. So if you guys were interested in that model, I do have it up here.
Do you wear V-necks ever?
I don't. That's why I never decided to do it. But she said she wanted one, so I did it. So
that's much more,
The colors are a little bit different, but, choose one you like and
you got
go
pink.
with that. It's all there. K2D4 Network.
Yeah, there's some cool merch on there. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Pete Halbleib with Dan Holfeld. This is Talk is Cheap.
Thanks for listening. Visit K2D4Network.com today.